So hello and welcome to the New Gig podcast. I'm your host, Glen Hodgson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by the CEO of the platform which matches construction professionals with clients, BraByggare. And here he is, Fredrik Minding. How are you doing, Fredrik?
Good. Thanks so much for hosting me and having me on the show.
It's a pleasure. So to give a little bit of background, how did you get into the platform economy sector? What's the sort of journey that you took?
So, it's a quite of a long story. Or I would like to say that I was actually in the platform sector before it was called the platform sector. It all started back in 2006. I joined a company called eWork.
Yeah.
So we actually, or eWork started as a platform company, but Sweden and the world was not ready for platform companies. So I like to call it, we had an assisted platform economy back then.
Yeah.
So we were actually matching IT professionals with IT gigs. They were not called gigs at that time, but that's how it all started. And since then, I've been part or been around the sector.
Excellent. So you've seen the changes, you've seen the evolution of the sector over those years as well. And it would be great to hear a little bit about BraByggare. What's the service you offer, and how does it fit into this broader term that we refer to as the platform economy?
So BraByggare it's a real platform for actually matching construction companies with buyers, and a buyer can be a consumer or a company. Anyone in need of something with construction. So BraByggare started in 2006. So one of the first platforms for doing this kind of thing where we're matching buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
And today we're pretty much the same business model. So we are matching builders with buyers. And we do so with of course benefits for both sides. So we have quality controls. We have controls of what are you looking for, and we only do construction work. So we are kind of specialists within construction work.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, because one of the big issues with this is, how do I find someone that's going to meet my requirements? How do I know that they're going to be, first of all, safe? Secondly, that they're not going to sort of disappear with my money, and thirdly, and most importantly, they're going to do a good job. So you do all
exactly
kind of work behind that.
So that's where it all started. It's how do you find a good craftsman? You can talk to your neighbor. They will say, he was pretty good, but in the end, we're not that happy. Yeah. And then, of course, how do you know that they paid their taxes? How do you know, that they have the insurances? How do you know that they have the actually certificates to do your bathroom or whatever you're trying to, that you will remodel? And so that's where we actually have a unique service of doing all these background checks that's hard to do if you're a consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to put in the time and the effort and the pain to be able to get all these things, it's possible. But of course, you take the difficulties out of that and act as an aggregator and a sort of a quality assurance as well. So something that's required for the sector, because either ourselves or we know of someone who's had experiences which are less than optimal. So you're well needed within the branch.
Thanks. And also, if you look at the branch and how do you actually acquire new clients?
Yeah.
And that is also, back in 2006, it was, word of mouth. And now we see that more and more consumers actually, everything is online. So you buy everything online, and it's the same with finding craftsmen. You do the searches online.
Yeah.
And that's where also, we have a good model to actually help these companies to find new clients.
And how's the evolution been there as well? Because there are certain sectors which are very technology savvy and very quick on the uptake of new technology and new techniques. The building sector, I would consider, not as an expert, to be maybe not at the forefront of using technology to sell services. So tell me a little bit about that.
they have all started their journey of digitalization, but it's they're far from done. I would say that they are. I came from the IT sector where they are really tech savvy, so it's like taking a few steps back. They still use systems for creating documents, etc. But they're not used to actually work in this kind of way to find new leads. You can see a big shift coming from the new client or the new company starting right now. They understand that, okay, I need to be online. I need to have presence on Google and Bing, or reviews online. So they kind of understand it, and they also see the benefit of us bringing in the projects, and they can actually just oh, that's a good product, let's pick that one.
Yes.
So I would say it's a big difference, if you look at the scale of old company and new company. But it's far from ended. I think that we just see in the beginning.
Yeah. And I think
but also if that's from the seller side. But if you look at the buyer side, they're extremely tech savvy.
Right. Yeah.
And also then we have to facilitate and actually help that communication in the middle. Because in one hand, you as yourself or me, you sit in front of your computer every day, all day. Yeah. If you want to buy something, you just go online, and if it's a product, you probably have it outside your door the next day already.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to buy something from a contractor, it's kind of a different process, and we try to help both parties to understand each other and actually have a meaningful dialogue all the way.
And hopefully through that sort of go-between process, you can show the value for both sides, and particularly for when the results of the increased digitalization is displayed to contractors, what it can actually give them in terms of new work, bringing in revenue. Hopefully that should be the process which expands on itself, and therefore more and more people say, well, actually this is good, this is actually bringing something for me, let's do more of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that we see that people understand that you have to be visible online. Yeah. And they see that we actually it generates profit, as you said. And also even if the project itself is not from our platform, they will see the benefit of us putting them out there and actually showing their reviews and making them searchable.
Yes.
I think that's a big value it's not been talked about that much, but it's actually a big value that people start to understand right now.
Yeah, it is. And reputation is everything. Branding is everything. And if people don't know about you, it's very difficult to be able to sort of win those contracts or have those opportunities. So it's putting people...
and also, sorry to interrupt, but if you look at buying a service like this, how often do you do that? It might be a once in a lifetime buying experience.
Yes.
And then you need to be sure that you're buying from the right contractor. So you will definitely spend time online doing searches, look at all the forums or reviews, etc. But for the seller, it's they sell it every week. So that's also something that we have to to live with and actually have to work with. Like, okay, you're selling something and it's or ordinary for you, you do this every day, and then you have the buyer that buys this maybe once in a lifetime, or you have a few ones that buys a house every year, but it's not that common.
Yeah, no, if you're going to do a kitchen, it normally lasts you sort of 20 years or so. You don't want to be doing this every 6 months.
That's true. We see those as well.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good for business as well. But when we see the sort of the sector more broadly, Fredrik, I mean, what do we see as the benefits, but also some of the barriers to the expansion of digitalization and the platform economy more broadly?
I think that we have a few bigger issues that needs to be addressed, and before we see a further expansion, if you look at the sector. And also depends on, which way are we, do we want to take this? But insurance is one of those big issues, and also subcontractors.
Okay.
And then I talk about subcontractors for, you hire someone and they have subcontractors. So that is a bigger issue that I think that we all can address and actually solve with the platform economy. Because that is very common, not only for smaller home projects that you have the agreement with one company, but then they need to hire a plumber or an electrician or something like that.
Absolutely.
And who's responsible for who?
Yes.
And also which insurance covers what. So that is something there are solutions to it, but we just have to show them and address them. And also, if you look at a bigger picture, like, okay, if you are a building company, if you look at the big construction sites, it's a lot of subcontractors and subcontractors through subcontractors, etc. So there's many layers of subcontractors, and who's responsible for taxes, environment, work environment, etc. And I think with the platform economy, we can actually address that, and we can make sure that we have the quality insurance on all different levels, and actually get a much better sector for everyone.
And I think this is crucial, to be able to use technology to address some of the issues that will maybe not work in the traditional offline space. And let's not just repeat the issues of the past, but to try and address them and take ourselves forward. I think this is a really important angle that is sometimes forgotten when we talk about the platform economy.
And also, not just talk about issues, but also if you look at the benefits. So let's say that you have a big construction site. We have a few of them up in northern Sweden right now that's been on the news. There's battery factories, etc. So how can we actually make those available for smaller companies? And so how can we, if we have a platform, then you are able to find workers, local workers that you were not able to find previously, because you have these big construction companies, they have their processes, etc. So you have to go through the process to be able to work through them or for them. And so with a platform economy or platform, we can actually make it easier to find local workforce and probably make it both cheaper and better.
And that's a great point that you raised there, Fredrik. The fact that actually people think the internet and technology means that it's just globalization, but the fact that it can actually help individuals, the fact that it can actually sort of bring local workers and local talent into the workforce is again something that is either ignored or not fully understood.
Now, I think it's not, it's definitely not fully understood, and it's not been talked about that much. So we have a few clients right now there where we actually are trying to do this on an everyday basis. Traditionally they have sourced their workforce from other countries, but given the situation right now with the Brexit and COVID, it's hard to actually source from other countries. So they have to turn to the local market. And in my opinion, that's something where you should start. But historically, it's been easier to source from other countries, because then you can take the workforce. Oh, they built this factory. Let's move them to Sweden and build another factory. So I think this is something that we start to see right now, and I think that we can actually build upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the starting point, and that this understanding that this can actually be happening, this can facilitate local workers, local jobs, and utilizing the talent that's there should not be forgotten. And it should be hopefully something that is supported by other stakeholders, nonetheless, politicians who should be looking at this angle as a way to address unemployment, and of course youth employment, which is such a big issue within the Swedish landscape and political debates at the moment.
Yeah, and also to secure that, you know, the jobs actually stay in Sweden. You know, if we have the workforce, let's use the workforce.
Yes.
And you know, you don't have to get the workforce from somewhere else when we actually have them here. And when you talk to the small companies, they you know, they're happy about this, because it's so hard for them to go to the big construction companies, you know, to go through the process. It's you know, it's not their strength. They're better at building things than doing processes.
Yeah, and not just meeting all the requirements, filling out forms, and getting compliant with probably sort of quite detailed, quite complicated rules and frameworks that need to be met.
Yeah, you know, RFPs and etc. It's you know, they see a lot of paperwork and they turn around.
Yeah. They want to be building as opposed to filling out forms, which can fully understand within the process there. Definitely can see that. And do you see at the moment within the within this context any specific threats that are arising which are of concern?
There's always, you know, threats around the corner, but one thing that we see is that, you know, with everything online, it's so easy to actually start a process of asking for something.
Yeah.
And so as a consumer, it's easy to turn to a platform like ours or our competitors and ask for, you know, how much, you know, I'm interested in remodeling my bathroom.
Yeah.
And you start the buying process, and the seller needs to act on it as you are a hot lead. But but in reality, you're just, you know, window shopping or you know, asking for the price.
Right.
And so that is one threat. You know, it's a little bit too easy to access the seller sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So that can be spending a lot of time putting together detailed offers and explanations, when it's basically just sort of a fishing exercise just to see what the cost is. Yeah.
So you know, with easy access comes also some kind of responsibility to take care of the sellers. So that is something that we work with. Like, okay, we only want to have, you know, real projects, and and how do you make sure of that? It's you know, something that we have to work on.
Yeah, and we always talk about disruption in every sector, and the building construction field is no different to that. I mean, what are the sort of the big themes that you are seeing in terms of the disruption and the change which is happening as we go forward over the next few years?
I think we already been touching on it, but one big change that we see is that everything moves online, and that you really have to have, as a seller in this sector, you really have to have a presence online. Yeah. And you know, people doesn't trust word of mouth anymore. It's you know, it needs to be on there. You need to be searchable, and you need to be, you know, they need to be able to find you 24/7, not to be able to contact you, but they need to be able to read, you know, something about you. And also, you know, it's takes a lot of time to have your own website and to make that, you know, a living website. So I think that is something that we see as well. Okay, how can we use platforms to actually, you know, make life easier? Yeah,
and because people as consumers are into this mindset, it's on ratings, it's stars. You know, it's the kind of the Amazon effect that if you see similar products, you will probably most likely buy the 4 or 5 star rating, where there's 10,000 reviews of people saying this is pretty good. It's just sort of the mentality and the way in which we buy has kind of changed, and we're used to sort of following processes like that. So sectors have to evolve and meet the sort of the needs of the buyers and the consumers.
Exactly. You know, for the consumer, it's not a big difference of, it's in the end, it's a big difference of buying a product, a new iPad or something like that, or a construction company, but their buying process will be pretty much the same. So they will look for ratings, they will look for price, and you have to convince them that price is not everything. Quality is probably more important than price. And a lot of that happens online, and the sector's been very much offline.
Yeah, I see, and the change there. But when we talk sort of online and offline as well with the platform economy, there is the very specific issue of work environment, which you touched upon before, and of course, safety, security in the working environment is essential in the building and construction industry. Do we see the changes being discussed that are necessary? In the Swedish case, we've had the minister who said that we need to look at work environment conditions and regulations to meet the needs of the gig economy and the platform economy. Is this something that we should be welcoming?
Yes, that's my short answer. I think it will be essential, to keep the growth going, and especially when it comes to, as I said before, subcontractors, because that when you start to peel the onion and you get to the bottom layers, that's where you actually find the problems. Yes. On the top, everything looks great. So you have to start to peel the onion, and if you look at the building sector, they're not called gig workers, or they don't see themselves as gig workers. But in the end, you have a part of the workforce that are actually hired by the hour, maybe not in a correct way, maybe no taxes are paid, and that's happening on every construction site, I would say. So we have to try to, with rules, regulations, and also by, us consumers have to work on building a better work environment for everyone. Yeah,
to ensure that everyone's safe and secure, that the taxes are paid at the right time, and that the standing of the sector, probably by doing this properly, everyone should benefit, because everything now is about reputation and brand. It's very difficult to build up, but very easy to destroy. So I think it's important part of the business that this is looked at and respected fully.
Yeah, I totally agree, and also that's, again, talking about reviews, and when you are able to leave reviews or give reviews, that's when we can address the issues. Because if you have an issue with a company, you need to tell about it, because otherwise someone will have the same issue. So I think that's also something, you can all help each other.
By learning. And I think that this is fantastic to hear the stories, but also how the sector is developing, and how you are facilitating a better solution for the construction companies, the end consumers, but also the overall brand of the sector. So it's great that you've been able to sort of share your thoughts and educate us about what's actually happening, and that technology is bringing all these great benefits to the building sector. So all credit to you and all power to you for the future. Thank you for coming on today, Fredrik.
Thanks so much.